that all of them were very tactical in that they were all clamoring to go and sit at where majority normally sit in parliament. So the MPP has been jostling around as to how best they can map up a strategy to be able to occupy that seat. And NDC has also been mapping out a strategy. And so if you've been listening to their political commentary, you realize that this group of people are saying that no, they are not going to leave any chances for the other party to actually occupy the majority seats. And so they were just very competitive to say that we are going to battle for it, because at the end of the day, 137, 137. So there has never been a clear, victory where we could say that this political party was an obvious majority. And so it became so clear that there is going to be that contestation between the two main political parties. So it is quite expected. And in politics, we need to appreciate some of these things. That politics is not about morality. It is not about religion. It is a competition for a political power. And some of these things do come. But if you do not understand the politics, you must say that a lot of ethics, a lot of morality, a lot of, religious perspective need to come to play. But this is a political power that people are looking for. And so some of these things will obviously come into play.
Even if you claim that some of these things are to be expected, did we expect our lawmakers to conduct themselves in such a way? Right from the start, when the NDC side took that side of the house, we saw attempts by the NPP side attempting to literally topple people off their seats. Is this behavior that we expect from persons who should know the law better than us mere men on the street?
You see, if you are looking at it purely from a moral point of view, looking at it from ethical point of view, looking at it from a religious point of view, you may say that these are not expected of our members of parliament.
So which point of view are you looking at it
I am looking at it from my point of profession. As a political scientist and a security analyst, I'm looking at it from the point that this is a politics. And don't forget that even United States of America, where they have nurtured democracy as far back 1776 till date. Look at what happened in Parliament. I don't know whether you've been monitoring. Look at what happened. That Donald Trump, supporters, one could just go and jump and sit at where a Speaker of Parliament has always been sitting, clamoring, trying to send a signal that they are not happy. And so some of these things do happen. What happened in Parliament, where there was invasion of the military, is something that we need to pay attention to. That is a very critical point that I think that when we get into that space, we'll be able to diagnose the issues, better. A lot of things are happening in this country that we all need to pay close attention to it and say that no, this has never happened in this country before. Politicians has never behaved in this manner. And so it tells you clearly that there is a new wind blowing where people are saying that no, the politics needs to be taken seriously. And MPP is doing that. NDC is equally doing that. We thought that the politics of this country has been more of timidity. But we are seeing that level of aggression. We are seeing that level of competition where people have realized that politics is a competition for a political authority. Right. It is a competition for a political power. And so some of these things, no matter how you look at it, it will, come to fore. That is where we will see the experiences of how parliamentarians actually behave. Right. And do not also forget that here we are dealing with human beings. And the psychology of our politicians, or the psychology of our elected parliamentarian, it is showing clearly that human beings, we are complex in all situations.
Right.
When you give a human being an opportunity, it could get to a point in time that we can behave like what we call in political science state of nature, where there is no discipline, where human beings behave as if they are not cultured. And so some of these things one way or the other, we will experience it in our political life or in our political discipline.
I'm sure Maurice has several questions that he would like to follow, but I would like to pick the thoughts of my good friend Isiama here on the scenes that we've witnessed so far. This is such a radical shift from what we've witnessed in past, you know, dissolutions of parliament and inauguration of new parliament. Do you side with Mr. Agbe's position that our politics has grown to this point where radicalism has come in, well, even in parliament?
Well, first of all, I think what happened is very unfortunate. The state of nature occurs when you don't have rules, when you don't have laws, when society, things are not working in society. But when you have a political system where you have rules and laws supposed to guide the behavior of people, we don't behave just anyhow.
So was the NDC side right in assuming the positioning,
first of all,
or to occupy the side that they did initially, and was the NPP right to contest it and then later concede and sit on the other half
first
of the
all,
house?
As Maurice pointed out, they were still in the previous parliament where NPP was supposed to be the majority. And I think when it comes to these things, we should respect convention.
But does it matter at all that there's no official ceremony to dissolve the 7th Parliament? If you get my point. Earlier on throughout the evening, we spoke to, for example, Ras Mubarak, who was a member of the 7th Parliament, but obviously did not win his contest, and so was sitting it out. And he joined us via Zoom for part of the night. So there was no official ceremony to say, you know what, now the day is over, 7th Parliament, thank you, go and, you know, serve Mother Ghana in other capacities. That provision is not there. But then the provision that is there is for after the stroke of midnight, for the new Parliament to start their proceedings with the election of a speaker.
So as we know, at that very particular moment, they were still in the era of the previous parliament, whether official ceremony was there or not. They were constituted in that regard. And when you have members of parliament disrespecting convention...
So the NDC was wrong,
and
in your opinion,
behaving disorderly, creating unnecessary confusion, I think it's something that all of us need to think about. I don't think it was necessary at all. It is something that could have been avoided, and it was not necessary. The people of Ghana do not deserve such things when we can really go by convention and ensure orderliness. And these are leaders. These are leaders who are supposed to set examples for the people to follow. So when you have them behaving just anyhow, even to the surprise of the ordinary Ghanaian, then where are we heading towards? So I think what the NDC started was avoidable, was unnecessary, was uncalled for, and it should be described as such.
And the NPP's reaction to what the NDC started, in your opinion?
Well, I didn't follow that aspect closely, but I learned the NPP had already strategized to just go the other way, except that one of them decided to sit in their seats, and that created that unnecessary, atmosphere which we witnessed. So all of them could have been avoided. I think the plan of the NPP then to pitch a different camp would have been right, would have created the necessary atmosphere to start the day, to finish the previous parliament.
So David, fundamentally, one of the reasons why the 8th Parliament, as we speak, has not been inaugurated was that last-minute injunction on the MP-elect for Assin North, which clearly the minority then, was not happy about. I mean, some have said that that ruling should have considered the atmosphere. It was just a few hours to dissolve Parliament and inaugurate a new one. And so some people thought that they should have looked at the spirit of the law rather than the latter. What would be your views? That last-minute injunction, was it necessary, if I may
especially
ask?
Considering that Techiman South, the ruling on that particular constituency was to maintain that the people could not be denied a representative in Parliament.
Sure.
Could same have been held for Asin North?
As far as my knowledge in law is concerned, I think that fundamentally this country, I do not know whether really law really works in this country and there is precedent. You see, law, as we were taught in our various lecture rooms, law goes with a certain precedence. And so when there is no precedent in law, it tells you that our judiciary has a serious problem. You see, here we are that you talked about Techiman. A certain group of people went there just to place an injunction on the member of parliament elect. And the court, said that no, they will not grant that injunction. Is that not what happened? There was another one too. The Hohoi one.
Oh, I see it.
I was in Parliament. I was at the Supreme Court the first day and the second day. I was at the Supreme Court. And the ruling that came, I read my constitution, and it tells me that there are a lot of things that in Ghana we are not following when we talked about constitutionalism. And we talked about how legal proceedings need to work, how jurisprudence, how certain yardsticks are, done, certain standards. Parliament, the Supreme Court, for instance, after the ruling, I heard, Justice Yao Apau said that, judges do make mistakes. He said that human beings are fallible, or we can make mistakes.
Sure.
And so whatever happens at that court, they should be forgiven. And I asked myself psychologically, what is he trying to say? That here we are, that people come to court to seek certain, justice. Are they following the Constitution? Are they following the law? Where at the end of the day, people will get justice, or they are using their own way of conducting, judicial, services or whatever. I think that we need to really look at the psychology of our judges to really see whether they are applying laws, whether they are applying, constitution, or what we call constitutionalism, and basically principles in law, and making sure that certain standard, or what we call in law precedents, are being followed. Look at what happened at Cape Coast just yesterday. Nobody thought that they could secure an injunction at that last minute, where a certain member of parliament, or who have been elected by a certain group of people, as enough, and then the person has registered at parliament, and here we are, a certain court says that they are putting an injunction on that person. So the president of Techiman and the president
maybe the issues are not the issues are not the same.
You see, in law, what I do know basically, that there should be precedent. Right. Look at the case of Amewu, for instance. There was an injunction, but Amewu quickly rushed to Parliament and what? Registered. And so we need to see law, that the laws are working. That is what Justice Lewis Powell said, that when law, you want to apply law, there should be a certain yardstick that citizens will realize that these people are using the law, and the law is there, and that law goes with a certain precedent. But when we are seeing our judiciary doing otherwise, some of us, for me, that is why I am afraid of our legal system in Ghana, that where we want to seek justice, that justice will be denied. And so we need to be very careful that any country that goes into war, or any country that goes into civil war or civil conflict, the attention or the whole thing starts from our legal regime. It starts from the way our judiciary actually behave. When citizens realizes that there is no fairness in our judicial system, they will take the law into their own hands.
You don't want to fall to the courts, do you?
You see, for me, I have never been comfortable wherever that I am talking about law, talking about constitutionalism, looking at jurisprudence, looking at the laws of Ghana and how the judiciary, especially our judges, makes pronouncement of judgment, and you read it verbatim, you realize that we are lacking behind, and they need to really, sit up and know that gone are the days that people have not read law, and so lawyers or judges can behave any other way. But now Ghanaians are becoming more sophisticated. People are reading laws, and not only Ghanaian law. We are reading international laws, seeing so many things happening in other countries.
Right.
And so we are seeing some of these things and telling our judges that, no, what you are doing, you might be massaging the law, but you are not applying the law so that the law will have a certain yardstick, or the law will have a certain precedent that people can actually follow.
Maurice, I'm glad you mentioned...
You want to make this, categorical statement of massaging the law. That's too categorical.
You see, do you want me to use the word twist judgment, or do you want me to...
No, that's okay. So, Gilfred, what do you make of the debate that ensued? It appears that, Parliament itself was not conclusive on that particular matter. As somebody said, it was a ding-dong. This person makes this argument, another person makes the other argument. There was no conclusion. And for me, I was thinking that this is a body that makes laws. And so we could have been able to bring finality to that matter at that particular point.
Well, parliaments make the laws, but they are certainly interpreted by the judiciary.
Sure.
So when it comes to interpretation, they have the law, at their side. But my comments on this last-minute injunction, I think, has created this confusion. Both parties tried last minute to adopt this legal shenanigans to prevent the opponent from having
the numbers.
Sure. And I think we saw what happened in Hohoe, but certainly they had their day in court to discuss the injunction, the interlocutory injunction that was imposed, which brought finality. But those who actually tried to just throw this on their opponent at last minute, I think is what created that confusion. In any way, if in our system we will be able to screen some of these processes right from filing nomination at the Electoral Commission, I think it will help do away with some of these things. We don't need that. In fact, these are things that we can address. If the Commission is to pay attention, we can address some of these issues. And this is not the first time it is happening. Some have been imprisoned. So if we keep an eye on the processes and we spot some challenges, some gaps, I think it is incumbent on us to put in place measures to address some of these things.
But Isama, what do you make of the demeanor of the Clerk of Parliament and his handling of that particular issue? Because at that particular point in time, he was acting as leader of the House, and it was up to him to determine which direction the conversation would sway. And he comes out to say he had been served with a letter indicating that an injunction had been placed on the MP-elect, Mr. Kwesi, and so he could not recognize said MP-elect, only to go into discussions with NDC leader and MPP leaders in Parliament, because we don't have majority or minority, and then come back and say, I leave it to you to make up your mind about whether you want to assume responsibility for your actions with the courts after you have made those actions? Does it seem like a firm enough stance by the Clerk of Parliament to you?
Well, it's not fair, but it's understandable. I mean, these are matters of law, and you have lawyers on both sides arguing as to what the determination should be, and we are not in court. You have a Clerk of Parliament having to make such a huge decision, and you could see his frustration. He was really frustrated. Maybe he was convinced that both sides were making a good case, and he didn't have enough reason to make a determination on that case. Right. I know people would have wished he was firm, he was conclusive, but you can't blame him too much. These are matters of law which are contested before people who have studied the law, practicing it, and then making judgments on that. So if you put a Clerk of Parliament over there to make such huge determinations, I think it's quite understandable.
And for me, I think that at that particular point, that was the best decision, allowing him to vote, because for me, there was no way the minority was going to allow.
There's no minority.
The NDC was going to allow
the votes to go ahead.
Sure, without him, there was no way. So it meant that I mean, the procedure was going to be held for a very long time. Maybe we wouldn't have been where we are right now.
And Mr. Agbe, does it herald what possibly the 8th Parliament could be facing in the days and years ahead for the next 4 years? Because we find ourselves at a deadlock of 137 apiece. And even though there's a clear indication that the one independent candidate has expressed his intention to vote on the side of the NPP, that 137 will remain on the books as both parties having the same number of MPs. Yeah. Looking at the scenes we've seen throughout the night, is this something we should expect in the 8th Parliament?
Yeah, Thelma, thank you very much. I must agree with Asiama that, you see, the Clerk of Parliament found himself, wanting. Because here is the case that there is incoherence in our judicial, pronouncement. He was found at a point that, what should I do? Should I disrespect the court so that I will be blamed of not, implementing what has been communicated by the court, or what should I do? So at that point in time, he realizes that no, in this country, for instance, people, any matter that goes to court, people are afraid of lawyers, people are afraid of judges, and so who are you to question how lawyers, behave in this country? And so he was quite tactful that if I am not careful, somebody could call me and say that come before court, and contempt or whatever it is. So he was quite tactful, but I must also say that he is a bit, if I could say, inexperienced, in that he was not in position to make sure that things are done in that sharp manner to control Parliament. But it is a complex situation. In leadership, we say that situation determines or demands a certain level of action that a certain group of people do take. And so the situation that he found himself, he realizes that if care is not taken, he could be beaten by the either side. So he just have to protect himself and be in the middle. And at the end of the day, I think that both sides of the coin, both NDC and MPP, look at personalities like Chairman Sabusu, look at my good friend, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong. I think Kennedy Agyapong so far has been the best peacemaker as far as this process is concerned. You see, Kennedy Agyapong is somebody that I have debated him severally. And he's quite aggressive type of a person. But in this situation all over, I think that if I have to give him an award, he is the peacemaker. He was able to dialogue very well with NDC, dialogue with the MPP very, very well. At the end of the day, nobody saw Kennedy Akufo-Addo Japan, more or less doing that posture of aggression or misbehaving in parliament at all. So for me, he was able to distinguish himself very well. Chairman Sabunsu, another character, he also did very, very well. And look at the personality of Haruna Iddrisu. Look at Muntaka. Look at somebody like John Jinapor. These were very, very aggressive guys, wanted to ensure that whatever they want, they get it. And look at the posture of Muntaka. At a point in time, he was policing almost everything. And he was doing his whipping job excellently. And so if you monitor the conduct of all these people, you need to find a very smoothness, in a way, if there is a word like that, to be able to navigate through, so that you will say that at the end of the day, I am washing my hands from any liability, or I'm washing my hands from any predicament that could come as a result of the fact that I do not disrespect the court. So for me, I think that no matter how we look at it, he was able to handle the situation. At the end of the day, voting has taken place. And so we could say that there has been a certain reasonable level of political settlement as far as the voting is concerned.
Voting has taken place, and it does appear that the NDC's choice, from what we understand, is getting it. But there has still not been an official declaration from the Clerk of Parliament as to who exactly won the race for Speaker of the House. Is that something to worry about at this time?
Before
Esiama
comes in, what I've seen so far, I've seen MPP 136. I've seen NDC 1.
According to the two sides.
Yes, I've also seen one spoiled ballot. But as it is now, we are all in that mood of expecting that the Clerk of Parliament.
These are figures coming from
we are
political parties.
Yes.
And so
we are expecting that the Clerk of Parliament will come officially to announce that this particular person has been selected as a Speaker of Parliament based on their own standing orders, based on the voting processes that has actually taken place. So we are expecting that official announcement from the Clerk of Parliament.
Right.
So that
is it worrying at all?
We are waiting for the inauguration of
which was meant to be in a couple of hours from now, but now has been set back by who knows how many hours. It took 2+ hours for even an agreement to be reached to allow the Asin North MP to participate in the election of the Speaker. And the whole voting and counting process took another 2+ hours. Now that people are calling for a recount, and the Clerk of Parliament has not spoken, I come back to my original question. Should we be worried, Esiama?
I think we are already worried.
So should we be more worried than we already are?
We are already worried that we find ourselves in this situation. We shouldn't have gotten here, first of all. But I think what happened, the disorderliness, the chaotic situation around it brought all these things here. So we have seen the leadership of Parliament in a discussion to try and then resolve this issue. We look forward to seeing the Clerk of Parliament coming out with such a determination, whether there is going to be a recount or a declaration. I think that's what we are all waiting to hear from the Clerk of Parliament. We have already spent a lot of time on this process, and I think it's about time we move ahead and then went to the next stage.
So Thelma will be right.
I think that the arguments tabled on the floor by the two sides of the House, in when you sit back as a lay person or someone who has not been to law school, very compelling arguments. So if you sit back without any foreknowledge of the law, which side are you meant to decide for? Because both sides, including the MP for Dom Kwabena, Madame Adwoa Safo, came out to speak very strongly in favor of of their two positions. So is it, what would the layman think of the posturing of those who spoke for the two sides in the heat of the moment, and the scuffles that broke out between MPs, between the processes?
Yeah, so I think we would have benefited from the discussions that took place in Parliament. The arguments were rich, and people were raising various points of law and other arguments that they thought in a democratic society should prevail. That was a wonderful opportunity for our members of Parliament to display such rich knowledge and education to the general public, with the exception that there were chaos in the House. People were shouting, people were screaming, people even wanted to fight. That is the only unfortunate thing. But the exchange of ideas, raising point of order, trying to interpret the law, trying to give reason why an elected member of Parliament should not be prevented at this point to be sworn in and to participate in the process, because he is duly elected by the people, and the people who voted for the member of Parliament should be given the opportunity to participate in the process of selecting the leadership. I think it was a very wonderful opportunity, with the exception of the fact that members of Parliament were saying, and this has gone on over the years, we have seen presidents going to visit Parliament and others singing, others showing cards. I think it's about time we change our ways. We need more orderliness in our Parliament, as you can sometimes see in the Senate of the United States. Sure. We need to reduce the level of heckling. Let's do some of these things outside Parliament, but when we appear to the people, as we show leadership to students, to the youth, to the general public, Parliament we have greater expectation of Parliament.
And to the international community as well, that it sends a signal of what we are, what we represent as a people. If world leaders who are visiting our country, who are coming to witness this event, see the scenes that we've witnessed throughout the night as well. So,
so Dave, you are a security person. At that point where the 7th Parliament was dissolved, where we didn't have a new Parliament, some constitutional vacuum there, at that point where the military walked into Parliament in their numbers, what was going through your mind at that point?
You see, I was so astonished to have seen the military invasion into our Ghanaian Parliament. I have never seen it anywhere before. That military with their guns and the code of their dresses alone, as if we were just going into war, Iraq war, something of that sort. And I thought that, no, this is below belt. And that is why in security, we are very tactful, the kind of command that we give.
Right.
And that is why in United States, in the developed countries, United States, UK, Canada, India, Russia, China, those developed countries, they don't just appoint ministers of interior
and defense,
ministers of defense, just like that. They are very tactful, very chronologic, very thorough, the kind of people that they select for minister for interior, what they call homeland security, and what we call here interior minister. Sure. And they are defense ministers. If you do not understand international politics, you do not understand international relations, you do not understand the security architecture itself, you will never get interior, you will not get defense. So if you look at United States or the developed countries, the most prominent appointment by any president at all in the world, first one when they come, minister for foreign affairs, very, very important. The next one is Minister of Defense or Homeland Security. And look at your criteria very well. They don't just appoint any other person, just like Ghana, any other person that we give him interior minister. You need to be very, very emotionally sound. Have what it takes to be able to analyze the psychology of how military men actually behave. And the command that you give to military people, you have to be very tactful.
Right. So what's your point, actually?
My point is that the invasion of Parliament, I think you could mention the names, those people who gave that instruction for the invasion of the Parliament.
How did you know that? How did you know who gave
You see, I have a
instructions?
technical eye, so I see beyond. There was a certain dialogue, between two gentlemen before the military were called in.
But we can't confirm.
You cannot confirm because that is
because we don't have that eye.
Exactly. So there were two guys. I mean, they came together, dialogue before such an instruction. So the invasion of Parliament by the military and as for the police, you could sympathize with them that they have a certain core function, because in Parliament they have their own marshals, and those people are, from the police. They are trained to do certain things. But a serious invasion of Parliament by the military, this is so terrible that I don't know from now until in the evening when I'm engaging the international media what actually I'm going to tell them, because this is a very serious matter. Ghana here, I think in Africa we call ourselves bastion of democracy, and all kinds of whatever language, and to see the military invading into Parliament. I mean, the Parliament House is the face of our democracy. Before our democracy could mature to a certain level, it depends on Parliament, how grand our Parliament is. And so for the military to invade into our Parliament, to cause mayhem,
let me quickly take Isiame's thoughts on this. Could it be, this is another argument, could it be that the perception was that the police who had initially come in to intervene had not been able to lay a firm hand to control the matter firmly enough and to allay fears and then tame tempests that were already flying off the roof? And so with maybe the Clerk of Parliament feeling threatened, he needed to have been moved out of there, and so the military was called to intervene. Is that a sound argument in your opinion?
That could be the argument, but the soundness of it, I think I would disagree. In this country, many a time we involve the military hastily. Just one or two things, we just call the military to join. But I think the police could have handled this, and we should give more responsibility to the police in the handling of some of these things. No. They are trained. The police are trained to do these things. The military has a different mandate. They have a certain call, and that is what they are trained mostly to perform. So just hastily calling the military to some of these situations, I think it's something that we need to consider going forward. If we need more training for our police to be able to handle these things, we should do that. If we need more policemen around to be able to control some of these things, we need to do that. And it happens all over when you see demonstrations, and even when the police goes, you see it becomes very difficult for them to even control the crowd. Crowd control. How do you equip your police service who have the mandate to perform these functions to be able to do that? And I think that is what we should be looking at, than bringing the military in hastily. It doesn't help matters. People have certain perception about the military. It's not only about efficiency. It's sometimes about the fact that the military can do just anything. When they come, they will be able to execute whatever they are there to execute, no matter what. So it's not always a positive perception involving the military in some of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're getting indications that it looks like there's a new speaker, and so there's going to be the swearing-in ceremony, and so pretty shortly we'll join Parliament, on the floor of Parliament, and hear from them what exactly has been concluded and what's going to happen any moment from now. But before then, Agbe, does it mean that we didn't foresee, we didn't pick intelligence that there was going to be tension in Parliament?
Sumana Bagbin as Speaker-elect. May I now request the sponsors of the Speaker-elect to conduct him into the chamber.
So, Maurice, we're seeing scenes of what's happening in the chamber, and the Clerk of Parliament has just informed the NDC side that they have to escort their nominee into the chamber for the proceedings to continue. And so a consensus appears to have been reached with regards to who becomes the next Speaker of Parliament. And from the indications, Mr. Alban Bagbin appears to have indeed, as earlier speculated, secured that nomination. He's now Speaker-elect.
Yeah, and so he's been in Parliament for the past 28 years.
A career parliamentarian.
A career parliamentarian, you like to call him, with so much experience. He's seen it all. They call him the father of the house. I mean, he has the standing orders, you know, on top of his head. I mean, so much experience there. He's being the Minister of Health at a point under His Excellency, the late President, John Evans Atta Mills. He was also a Minister for Works and Housing. There, he was part of the Three Wise Men, together with Mr. Cletus Avoka, who was supposed to be advising His Excellency, the late President, John Evans Atta Mills. And so, Alban Bagbin will be the Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana.
And like you said, if the President and the Vice should ever be out of the country at the same time, then Mr. Bagbin acts as President.
Sure, and that's going to be very interesting. Now the legislature, he now becomes the executive, even though he's not part of the MPP government.
Yep.
We see how that, you know, pans out. It's going to be so interesting.
What does that say about us to the rest of the world? That we've come to this point in our democracy where we can see a member of a party that did not win the presidential election being the Speaker of Parliament for the first time in our country's history.
I think it's a very interesting, you know, phenomenon.
So very quickly, the figures that have been made available to us now is 138 in favor of the NDC's nominee and 136 in favor of the NPP's nominee, with one spoiled ballot.
Good. It tells me that my sources are. and so it's quite, you know, an interesting phenomenon that we have a Speaker-elect who is coming from the other side of the political divide. And we also have a President-elect who also belongs to another political, you know, ideological, you know, point of view. And so as we speak now, Parliament is Parliament and the executive is executive. Are we going to see that semblance
to be conducted into the chamber? I now respectfully invite His Lordship Justice Enin Yeboah, the Chief Justice of the Republic, to proceed to the dais and to assist to administer the oath of allegiance and the Speaker's oath.
Sit down.
Honorable members may resume their seats.
Please repeat after me.
I, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin,
do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Republic of Ghana.
To the Republic of Ghana.
As by law established.
As by law established.
That I will uphold.
That I will uphold.
The sovereignty and integrity of Ghana.
The sovereignty and integrity of Ghana.
And that I will preserve.
And that I will preserve.
Protect. And defend.
The
Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
The Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
So help me God.
So help me God. I, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin,
do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Republic of Ghana.
To the Republic of Ghana.
As by law established.
As by law established.
That I will uphold.
That I will uphold.
The integrity of the Republic of Ghana.
The integrity of the Republic of Ghana.
That I will faithfully.
That I will faithfully
and
conscientiously
discharge my duties.
As
Speaker of Parliament.
And
that I will uphold. Preserve. Protect. And defend. The Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
The Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
And that I will do right. To all manner of persons. In accordance with the Constitution of Ghana. And the laws and conventions. Of Parliament. Without fear. Or favor. Affection. Or ill will. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you. Which pen do I use?
This is my pen. Give it to him first.
All right, so there we have it. Honorable Alban Bagbin will be the Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. Mr. Bagbin was born on 24th September 1957 at Sombo in the Upper West region. Honorable Bagbin is a graduate of the University of Ghana from 1997 to 1980 and the Ghana School of Law 1980 to 1982.
Thank you. Excuse me. So whether we can go.
Our revered traditional leaders, representatives of political parties, our hard working members of the press corps, guests, I humbly accept the high and privileged office of the Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. In accepting such an honor, I want to first thank the Almighty God for His abundant grace and blessings on me and my family. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for bestowing this honor and great responsibility on me. Let me not forget Ghanaians, the Electoral Commission, all political parties, civil society organizations, the media, and more importantly, my party, the great National Democratic Congress, for proposing me to be elected to be the Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. Members-elect, I must say I'm so happy and grateful to all of you. And when I mean all of you, I include those who even voted against me. Except only those who tried conjuring what is not food. I will submit myself to the will of this House and pledge to serve my dear country, to serve you, and to serve all Ghanaians faithfully to the best of my ability. I will also conscientiously discharge my duties as a Speaker of this Parliament. I want to promise wholeheartedly to put at the disposal of Parliament and the country the store of knowledge, immense experience, and the huge data bank I have accumulated and accommodated over the 28 years that I have been a member of this House. As the standing orders of Parliament directs, after you have performed this duty of electing me as the Speaker of Parliament, I will have the singular honor and duty to also proceed to perform the other duties imposed by the standing orders of the House. And so, before I conclude, I want to know from the leaders whether we will proceed to elect the deputy speakers of Parliament after we have sworn in the members. I just want to know an indication from the leaders.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, Now that you have been elected as Speaker and indeed been sworn in, the Deputy Speakers must be elected from amongst members of Parliament, in that case, who have been sworn in by you. So accordingly, I'll propose to you respectfully that you do swear us in order for us to be able to elect from amongst ourselves persons to take the positions of first and second deputy speakers. Speaker, I accordingly submit.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move. Mr. Speaker, we have consulted at the level of leadership and we concur. And after we have taken our oath of office, we would submit to you the two candidates for first and second deputy speaker. I so concur with the leader.
Yes, honorable members, I'm fully aware of the procedure, but sometimes due to constraints of time, we sometimes skip the election of the deputies and do it another day. That is why I want the indication from the leaders of the House. But as your leaders have clearly stated, the intention of the House is to do that today. And so I now have the honor and singular duty to proceed to have the members of Parliament-elect sworn. In accordance with the practice of the House, you will take the oaths together as a symbolic sign of unity of this House. You may now rise in your places to be sworn. You will take the oath of allegiance first, and then the oath of a member of Parliament. The oath of allegiance first. Those honorable members, I'm older than you in this House. And please go back to your standing orders and the Hansard, and you see that the practice is to take the oath of allegiance first. We have the Holy Bible, the Holy Quran, and if you are like me, our revered cross. You are at liberty to select according to your faith. And after that, you say after me, as I did before His Lordship, the Chief Justice. I do in the name of the Almighty God swear, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana, as by law established. That I will uphold, the sovereignty and integrity of Ghana, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. So help me God. Honorable members, we now proceed to take the oath of a member of Parliament. Again, I, having been elected a member of Parliament, do in the name of the Almighty God swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana, as by law established. That I will uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Ghana. And that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of Parliament. So help me God. Honorable members, you may now resume your seats. Honorable members, you are duty bound to sign the 2 oaths that you just taken and submit same to the table office today. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity not just to welcome you to the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, the House of all Ghanaians, but to congratulate you for fighting a good fight and getting the members and getting the mandate of the electorate to represent them in this House. You are all congratulated. Having been along that path for 7 consecutive times, I know how you feel. Because you all know the saying that he who feels it knows it better. In spite of the stress, in spite of the pressures, in spite of the competitive election, nevertheless, you all sailed through, and you are here. I will take an opportunity, not now, to give a word of advice, particularly to those honorable members who have just appeared here for the first time. But I want to proceed straight away for us to elect the deputy speakers of the Parliament of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. So I invite nominations for the election of the first deputy speaker.
Mr. Speaker, by the imperatives of Article 96 of the 1992 Constitution and Order 12 of our own standing orders, this House is required to elect 2 deputy speakers who shall be known as the first and second deputy speakers from amongst members of Parliament. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, I rise to propose the Honourable Joseph Osei Owusu, a Member of Parliament for Bekwai, as the first Deputy Speaker. Consequently, Right Honourable Speaker, I move that the Honourable Joseph Osei Owusu do take the chair of this House as the first Deputy Speaker. The Speaker, the Honourable Joseph Osei Owusu was born on 22nd January 1962 at Bekwai in Ashanti region. Speaker, I do believe that members of this House, those continuing, do know him, but those joining us may not know him. And it is the reason why, for the purposes of the record, it is right to say 1 or 2 things about him. The Speaker, the said honourable member had his basic education at St. John's Catholic School, also at Bekwai in Ashanti region. He continued his education at Jabin Secondary School, Jabin Ashanti, was GCA ordinary level, and Wenchi Secondary School, Wenchi, for his advanced level certificate. He proceeded to University of Ghana, where he obtained a combined degree in law and classics in 1987. The Honourable Osei Owusu continued to the Ghana School of Law, after which he was called to Ghana by 1990. Since then, he has been in legal practice in different forms. The Honourable Member started his legal practice with Yarbema & Co. in Koforidua for 4 years, after which he relocated to Kumasi and teamed up with Mr. George Sapon and Abu Kwame Osei-Prempeh to start Adom Chambers, from which he engaged in private legal practice for 9 years before he joined public service and served as Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, for 6.5 years. Speaker, he subsequently obtained an Executive Masters in Governance and Leadership from GIMPA in 2007. Prior to joining DVLA, Honorable Osei had held other leadership positions as the Secretary to the Ghana Bar Association, Ashanti Region, elected Assembly Member, the Kwai Ashanti Region, SRC President, Ghana School of Law, and JCR President of the Commonwealth of University of Ghana. After 6.5 years at DVLA, the Honorable Osei resigned and contested the Kwai seat and entered Parliament in January 2009 as an independent Member of Parliament. He was re-elected to represent the people of the Kwai from January 2013 and has been with us since then. Speaker, as a Member of Parliament for the 5th and 6th Parliament, the Honourable Member served on a number of committees. He served on the Appointment Committee, the Road and Transport Committee, and the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, of which he was the ranking member. On January 7, 2017, he was unanimously elected as the first Deputy Speaker of the 7th Parliament of Ghana. He is the leader of Ghana's delegation to the Pan-African Parliament as the first Deputy Speaker of the 7th Parliament, and indeed the Chairman of the Appointment Committee, which position, Speaker, officially ended with the 7th Parliament having been prorogued midnight yesterday. He was also the Chairman of the Privileges Committee and a member of the Roads and Transport Committee, among others. The Speaker, this is the member that I propose to the House as the first Deputy Speaker. I so move. Speaker.
Honourable members, any seconder?
Speaker, I beg to second the motion that the Honourable Osei Joseph be the first Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament. Privilege and honour to work with him as Chairman of the Committee, of the Appointments Committee. He discharges his duties with diligence. He knows his law, the principles and case law where necessary to support his argument. He also served on the Constitutional Legal Committee of Parliament, and his contribution to debate is always informed by depth. Mr. Speaker, I beg to second the motion. He's already served this august House as first Deputy Speaker, and have discharged himself creditably, and have been very supportive of the Speaker. I beg to second the motion.
The Honourable Member for Swami, Honourable Osei Mensah Bonsu, may now table his letter of consent.
Speaker, the Honourable Member submitted his letter of consent to me, but unfortunately, in the developments that ensued, looks like it cannot be traced in the confusion that ensued. The Speaker, I'll make a spirited effort to retrieve it and submit it to you. Now I want to pray you to consider and indeed deem it as having been tabled in this House. The Speaker, I shall submit.
Honourable Member, I understand the situation, and so you are at liberty to submit it later. I may allow a few months of probation, but I'll apply the rules strictly. And I may not allow too much interruptions. Honorable members, because of the learning curve, I say I may allow a few months. After that, we have to go strictly according to the rules. I already pledged to abide by your will. And you also have to pledge to abide by the mastery of the rules, practice, and procedure of the House as decided by the Speaker. The rules will definitely tell you how to disagree and when to disagree with the Speaker. With that, honorable members, I want to know whether there are any other nominations. Honorable members, there being no other nomination, I hereby declare the Honorable, my own. I can say without any fear of contradictory that he was my former colleague. I now declare the honorable member for Bekwai constituency duly elected as the first Deputy Speaker of this House. I now invite nominations for the election of the second Deputy Speaker. Yes, honorable member for Asawase.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, in line with Article 96 of our Constitution and Standing Order 12.2, arise to propose Honorable Andrews Esiama Amako to propose Honorable Andrews Esiama Amako, member, independent member of Parliament for Famuna constituency, to take the chair as the second Deputy Speaker of this August House. The Speaker, my colleague, Honorable Andrew Esiama Amako, is a lawyer by profession, a surveyor also by profession, who has masters in conflict, peace and security that was obtained at Kofi Annan International Peace Center. He also holds MSc in Environmental Resource Management from KNUST, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, BSc Land Economy, also from KNUST, then UST. He also holds LLB in law and also a graduate from the Ghana School of Law. He was called to the bar as a bar member and as a member of the bar, and also a member of the Ghana Institute of Surveyors. His work in KMA, that's Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, as a valuer, as a land officer, and estate manager. He has also worked with Akosombo Chambers as legal practitioner.
Please.
The Speaker, my colleague in the 7th Parliament was the MPP Member of Parliament for Fomena, and in a very, very bizarre circumstances, he was dismissed from this chamber in a way that was in a Rambo style. The Speaker, he persevered. He persevered and stood as independent candidate. And because of the good work that he has done in his constituency, the constituency, for those who do not know Fomena, is a traditionally conservative MPP area, still honored him by electing him as an independent member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I therefore move that my colleague, Honorable Andrew Esiama Amoako, take the chair as the second Deputy Speaker. I so propose.
Honorable members, any seconder?
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
I rise to second the motion moved by my colleague, Honorable Muntaka, for the office of second Deputy Speaker of Parliament to be taken by our colleague, Esiama. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, Honorable Esiama, independent member of Parliament for Fomena in Ashanti, is a man I personally know. We've been working colleagues. He's a lawyer. We've shared notes, we've compared notes, we've learned from each other. He's a man who is easy of address, calm in demeanor, and has demonstrated his ability to work under challenging circumstances. My respected colleague in moving the motion drew our attention to certain essential qualifications of the candidates. That is, he has studied in conflict management. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with that knowledge, I have no doubt at all on my mind that the opportunity given to serve in your absence, to preside over the assembly of this August House, will be worth the while. Without more, I pray that this House will so consider and accordingly elect him for the office of second Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. I thus second. Thank you.
The honorable member for Aswase, may you table the letter of consent of your nominee. Honorable members, are there any other nominations for the position of the second Deputy Speaker of this House? There being no other nomination, I hereby declare the honorable member for Formina constituency, duly elected as the second Deputy Speaker of this House. Honorable members, order. Honorable members, the honorable member for Bekwai, Honorable Joseph Osei Owusu, popularly known and referred to as Joe Wise, has accordingly been elected as the first Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. The honorable member for Formina, Honorable Andrews Amuako Asiama, has also been duly elected by you as the second Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. I thank you, honorable members, for a good work done. I must say that this should be the spirit that will guide the proceedings of this House for the next 4 years. I hope and pray that you will continue that way. To occupy such a high office as second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. So I'm aware that some engagement, negotiations, dialogue has taken place before this time. And I want to encourage members, particularly the leaders of the House, to try to make this a way of practice of this House. I thank you and congratulate you for such a good work done. I am informed that we have another assignment to perform. That assignment was initially billed to take place at 11 in the forenoon. Due to the rather busy nature of the work of this House, it has had to be shifted forward to 12 noon. That activity, I know, is well known to all of you. But let me inform you that what I'm talking about is the swearing-in ceremony of His Excellency, the President-elect, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, and His Excellency the Vice President-elect, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It has now been decided that the swearing-in ceremony will take place at 12 noon. Today, Thursday, 7th January 2021, at the forecourt of the Parliament House. I want to ask leaders whether there's any indication before I proceed to suspend proceedings of the House. And as I indicated, we'll later reconvene at 12 noon to perform this all-important function. Leaders, any indication, any guidance?
Mr. Speaker, as you have rightly observed, the House at its maiden sitting started gathering here after 10 last night. We've been here for more than 12 hours, and we may have to do some brush-ups before the commencement of the activity of the swearing-in of the President, which has to be done in Parliament and before Parliament. Speaker, we've taken a decision to have this within the presence of Parliament and to have the program conducted in the tent that has been constructed, as we said, the forecourt of Parliament. I require of us to take a suspension of the sitting and to relocate the sitting of the House to the place that we have referred to. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, I may want to move that this House takes a suspension of this sitting to relocate to the tent to have the President sworn in Parliament and before Parliament. Speaker, I so move.
Speaker, I beg to second the motion for suspension and to urge our colleagues and to remind them that Parliament now is properly constituted, and therefore the first step in managing our transition process and in getting President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa, Vice President-elect Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia sworn before Parliament. I do agree with the leader that we allow for some break. We had to undergo this necessary to avoid a political interregnum in Ghana and for the country to have its leadership. I beg to support the leader for a momentary suspension.
Honorable members, before I suspend proceedings, my attention has been drawn to the presence of some distinguished personalities. Even though I don't see them at the distinguished sitting area, but I'm told that they are seated at the public gallery. Please kindly forgive us if we are not able to recognize you and formally mention your name. I have only been given two names. in the persons of the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. John Boadu, and the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, in the person of Honorable Johnson Asedu Nketia. These are, as you all know, distinguished, gallant members, particularly of great importance to all of you gathered here. So on behalf of Parliament and on my own behalf, we welcome and acknowledge your kind visit. I now proceed to put the question. And the question is that this House suspend the proceedings and reconvene at 12 noon to continue with the rest of the business of the House. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Proceedings of the House is accordingly suspended.
C'est famille Kojobi 2020 de Mahameba e de clear cause offer akofa Dubai no we share 4 years but now so dey no we yo one history one fact scan buy no chairman family pen here buy no 2020 but so near team kwam abane de Mahamafa 2020 2020 when you be on pre-course Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre Galamse was so besemokina Oba na okofa soldiers Wasi yentimete na watisi scaveters na watisi low bed ubegunu ere yebetu enia bro ama yani tutu apa na beba na se 2020 baso ne yatim kwam Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre-course Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre share oba ni obegu banks adena sare kan kra mo ntiase ka bo betima ya ma na nice maye mo hukululu na mo hyase pase ya hwe ntiaso mprenu mo betina so de mo ye ne ya hu ahoya ani brenti 2020 lesson ya ma mo chance Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre-course Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre share mama ye no mo se dollar adwane mo se moba mo betina tenase moba ye dollar na yan taban watu na onenam wiase sana mo kra mo ye super incompetent dia make ne kurefo evidence the bank na aguwe kofo na aguwe sieti nkwama Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre-course Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre share Kotokraba market wa yeye wa yeye Kejetia market no wa yeye wa yeye Second overhead wa yeye wa yeye Mahama E-Blocks na man free SH Chesabaso Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre-course Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on Abane de JMafa JMbra Abane de JMafa JMbra Abane de JMafa kana December Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre-course Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre-course Mahamafa Abane de Mahamafa 2020 when you be on pre C'est très famille